Okay, hey, we want to welcome you to another episode of the Garrison. This is a how-to video on rendering bear fat. And of course, rendering bear fat is simply melting the bear fat down into a liquid form and storing it in a container. Of course, some choose glass. Some that have no issues with plastic can choose a 32 ounce or 16 ounce plastic bottle. It's easier to ship these. So that's why we recommend that we go with plastic bottles when we're shipping them across the country. But bear fat is simply what it is. It's just bear fat. This bear was taken a couple weeks ago, and instead of taking the fat and throwing it into the dumpster after it's been butchered and the meat processed, we collect it. We take it and we flash freeze it and vacuum seal it most of the time. Notice this case here isn't vacuum sealed because we're using it immediately. But if we're going to freeze it for any length of time, then a good friend of mine at Deer Legs Meat Processing in Cross Lanes, West Virginia, supplies this for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the bear fat out of the plastic wrapper here. So open it up, and again, it's still kind of frozen, so we have maybe a little bit of trouble. We've got to cut it to fit into this microwave safe dish. So I'm using a serrated knife, but if you've ever messed or handled with bear fat, i.e. bear grease, bear oil, it's slick. It stays on the hands, that's for sure. So we're going to place it in here. We want to make sure that we don't have too much hanging over the edge because it will drip and create a horrendous mess. So let's go ahead and let's cut this again into another section. So I can't stress enough how important a serrated edge knife is for getting through this. Okay, so 2 chunks there. Nice bear fat, oily, greasy bear fat. And we're going to use the old microwave here because I sure don't want to mess up the wife's new microwave, or good microwave. So we'll place that in there. And I'm going to set it at the max time cycle because it needs about 25 minutes to start to actually render. Don't cook it too long because it'll turn into a brownie, bacon, grease looking substance. This is one of the reasons why I like to render it inside their microwave, is because you don't get a cooked smell. You get just really pure, clean urine. I hate to use that example, but urine color bear grease or bear oil, which is what our customers demand. Okay, so we'll let that cook and then we'll start pouring it off. Okay, we've only been about 5 minutes, but I'm starting to see the oil build up in the bottom, so we don't want to cook it too long with oil in it because it'll brown it. It'll start to burn. So we'll go ahead and turn the microwave off, and then be really careful with this because it's very hot. So we'll pull this out. I'm trying to get a good camera angle there so you can see how clear the oil is. So now what we'll do is we'll simply pour it into another hot temperature glass vessel there, because again we don't want to put it in something that's going to crack on us. So I'll try and switch hands and do this without getting burnt so that the camera can see, because you want to hold the fat back. If you get a chunk that falls in there, you simply pull it out, but you see how clear that oil is. Now again, under cooler conditions, that oil will turn back to a grease. So we want to pull as much of it off as we can. Let it drip there. Okay, that's good. And then we look at our fat. It's still, it's still got plenty of oil in it. We don't want to overcook it, but we don't want to waste oil. So we'll simply put it back inside the microwave. Go to max again, 15 minutes, and then we'll check it about another 5 minutes or so. But this is the consistency of the oil that you want, at least the oil that we want. I would hope you'd want the same, more of a urine color. Okay. Okay, so we've got our bear fat rendered. I'm going to fill up the last of our jars here, and it just simply is what it is. Pour it until the jar is full. And then we want to make sure that we put a lid. I even reuse these from preserves, from jellies that we've made before, because most of the time they'll reseal. If it doesn't seal, that's not that important, but you can't go wrong if you're going to leave it in long-term storage with it with sealing. So I'll just simply tighten the lid, turn it upside down for a second, let the heat penetrate through that lid, and then I store mine in the freezer, or excuse me, refrigerator. You can freeze it. I wouldn't recommend freezing it in the glass jar, but you can put it in a plastic container and freeze it. So, okay, well, that concludes our segment on rendering bear fat to an oil, which will, of course, when it cools, become a grease with some oil that sets on top. You can pour that oil off if you want to use it for a cold weather gun oil, or just use it for a leather conditioner, like we mentioned earlier in the video. So, okay. If you guys have any questions, or if you'd like to order some, please check us out on Facebook at The Garrison, and or PM me through The Garrison there with information on how to get some. All right, thank you.